History is not always changed by kings. Sometimes it is changed by ordinary men who refuse to stay silent. Men without crowns, without armies, but with conscience. This is a story about an oath, a command, and a single moment where loyalty stood against humanity. This is the last oath of the North. Welcome to Heroes of History. The oath that bound the blood. The North was cold. Not the kind of cold that bites the skin, but the kind that freezes intention, loyalty, and mercy. This was an age when history was not written on paper, but carved into flesh and stone. An age where kings were known by their wars, and loyalty was paid for in blood. Storm clouds gathered above the fortress of Norheim, as if the sky itself had come to witness a crime yet to be named. Torches burned along the walls, casting more shadows than light. And within those shadows stood a man in silence. His name was Aldric. He was not born to a crown. He was not promised a legacy. He was simply a soldier who had survived long enough to understand that survival always comes at a cost. His hands bore scars, some from enemies, some from friends, and some from commands never dared to question. Tonight, he would swear an oath that would outlive him. The great hall smelled of smoke and damp stone. Men stood shoulder to shoulder, their silence heavy with expectation. Upon the throne sat Lord Edrin, a ruler forged by war, polished by diplomacy, and sharpened by ambition. To the people, he was the unifier of the North. To history, he would be remembered as much more. Aldric knelt. A sword was placed before him, not a weapon, a chain. Edrin's voice echoed through the hall. Will you swear loyalty to me? Will you name my enemies as your own? Will my command be your law? For a moment, Aldric hesitated. Images flooded his mind. Burning villages, crying women, children who no longer cried at all. And the order he had followed without question. Yes, my lord, he said. The hall exhaled in relief. Thunder answered. Rain began to fall that night. The kind that does not wash away guilt but presses it deeper into the earth. Later, when the fortress slept, Aldric stood alone upon the wall. Footsteps approached. It was Elswith, a healer by trade, a historian by purpose. You should know, she said quietly, an oath is not always between two men. Sometimes it is sworn to history itself. Aldric said nothing. He already knew, and that knowledge terrified him, because some oaths do not save kingdoms. They burn them, and this was only the beginning. The lie beneath the crown sleep did not come to Aldric that night. The fortress was quiet, but not the kind of quiet that brings peace. It was the kind that warns of something approaching. Rainwater dripped from stone, walls as if the castle itself was bleeding. Then he heard voices. Low. Controlled. Dangerous. Beneath. The great hall lay a chamber reserved for secrets, not soldiers. Aldric paused. His oath demanded obedience, not blindness. He pressed himself against the wall and listened. The North is united, said Lord Edrin, but the people still question us. Another voice replied. They believe we fought for their safety. Edrin laughed, a laugh shaped by power. People do not want truth, he said calmly. They want stories, and we decide which stories survive. Aldric's pulse quickened. What about the village? A third voice asked. Nordful. There was no rebellion. Silence filled the chamber. Then Edrin spoke. Rebellion is optional. He said, fear is not. When one village burns, the rest kneel willingly. Aldric's hands trembled. Nord fell. The village he had destroyed. The command he had followed. The screams that never left him. Morning came. But the north did not feel brighter. Messengers arrived. Another village. Another order. For peace. Edrin declared. Aldric spoke. For the first time. Is there truly a threat, my lord? The whole froze. Edrin looked at him. Not with anger. With curiosity. Threat is not found in villages. Aldric, he said quietly. It is found in disobedience. The order stood. Another village would burn. That night, Elswith came to him. She carried a leather-bound book. I have written there names, she said. Those who will die tomorrow. So tomorrow's history sounds noble. Aldric did not look. What if you refuse? He asked. Her voice shook. Then another man will go, and history will still lie. Silence stretched between them. For the first time, Aldric wondered, can loyalty itself become a sin? The first act of defiance that night was not like the others. It was the kind of night where a man chose between saving his Saula, honoring his oath. Aldric marched with the soldiers. Rain returned, turning the ground into resistance. Torches burned ahead. Silence followed behind. No one spoke. Because silence carries questions that words cannot survive. The village was small. Unprotected. Barely a name on any map. Be ready, the commander said. The order is clear. Aldric tightened his grip on the sword. It no longer felt like a weapon. It felt like a verdict. They entered the village. No resistance. No rebellion. Only doors closed to tight-lined, breath held too long. The first fire was lit. Screams followed. Then Aldric saw him. A child, hidden behind a burning house. Still. Silent. Watching. Not an enemy. Not a threat. A witness. Move. The commander shouted. Aldric stepped forward. Every step heavier than the last. The oath echoed in his mind. My command shall be your law. Then Elswith's words returned. Some truths must be saved, or they die forever. Aldric lowered his sword. He reached for the child. Come, he whispered. A voice rang out behind him. Aldric. Two soldiers stood frozen, suspicion in their eyes. He did not answer. He lifted the child and ran into the dark. For the first time, Aldric fled not from enemies, but from his own men. He reached the forest, breath broken, the child trembling. Stay here, Aldric said, until morning. The child looked at him. No fear, only quiet gratitude. Aldric turned back, knowing nothing would ever be the same. At the fortress, the news had arrived before him. Lord Edrin waited. You disobeyed, he said calmly. I saved a life. Aldric replied. Edrin smiled. Not warmly, coldly. You set an example, he said, and examples are dangerous. He stepped closer. I will not punish you yet. I want to see how. Far you are willing to go. It was not mercy. It was a warning. The price of Truth Fortress felt different the next morning. Same walls. Same torches. Different air. Fear. Wherever Aldric walked, eyes followed him. Whispers stopped. Silence had begun to speak. He knew this silence. It came before punishment. Elswith summoned him to the southern tower. She was not alone. A veteran, missing a leg, a young messenger who had seen too much, a woman whose entire family had burned. We have all seen the same lie, Elswith said, and now that lie is consuming us. She opened her book. Names filled the pages. Villages, dates, orders never meant for public ears. This is not history, Aldric said quietly. It's a graveyard, and if it reaches the people, Elswith replied, Edrin's throne will shake. The door burst open. Guards stormed in. Aldric of Norheim, you are charged with treason. Steel was drawn. No one resisted. Aldric met Elswith's eyes. She understood. The great hall was full. Lord Edrin did not sit. He stood. A display of authority. You were given trust, Edrin said, and you turned it into a threat. I saw the truth. Aldric replied. Whispers rippled through the hall. Edrin raised his hand. Truth, he said coldly, is whatever keeps the state alive. He declared the sentence. Aldric will be imprisoned. Tomorrow. His fate will be decided before the people. It was not justice. It was a warning. The cell was dark. Cold. Silent. Elswyth. King to him. No tears. Only resolve. I hid the book, she said. Even if you die, the truth will not. Aldric smiled faintly. Then my oath finally served a purpose. Above the fortress, a storm gathered. Below it, the people began to question. The last off morning was dark. The sun rose, but its warmth did not. The square before Norheim Fortress was full. Men. Women. Children. Some came for justice. Some for spectacle. Some for truth. Aldric was brought in chains. Simple clothes. A tired face. Clear eyes. He was not looking at the crowd. He was looking at time itself. Lord Edrin stood above them all. Today, justice will be done, he declared. Against an enemy of the state, whispers spread. The charges were read. Treason. Disobedience. Threat to order. Then Edrin asked, Aldric, do you speak in your defense? Silence fell. Yes, Aldric said. I swore an oath. The crowd leaned in. I was ordered to obey. I obeyed. I was ordered to burn. I burned. No one moved. But I was never ordered to stop being human. Even the wind seemed to pause. Elswith stood among the people. The book in her hands felt heavier than steel. When Edrin raised his hand to pass sentence, she threw it forward. Pages scattered through the air. Names. Villages. Dates. Truth. The crowd erupted. Stop her, Edrin shouted. Too late. They were reading. Understanding. Questioning. Aldric smiled. Not in victory. In peace. I have kept my final oath, he said. If I die today, truth lives tomorrow. Edrin's face tightened. Power was slipping. Take him away, he screamed. The blade was raised. Aldric closed his eyes, and the north held its breath. The story does not truly end here. Some say Aldric died that day. Others say the North never obeyed blindly again. And some say that was the day history found the truth. What the North remembered after that day, the North grew quiet, not the silence of fear, but the silence that forces reflection. No announcement was made that Aldric had been executed, and none claimed that he had lived. His name simply stopped being spoken. Sometimes. That is the greatest punishment. Sometimes. The greatest freedom. Lord Edrin did not remain long in Norheim. The pages of the book could not be burned. They had already settled into the minds of the people. Orders no longer sounded absolute. Questions followed them. And Powerhouse always feared questions. Edrin fell. The throne did not survive. Kinjelswith never stopped writing. She did not soften names. She did not polish words. She wrote. There was a soul Dewo stopped obeying, and in that moment remembered how to be human. The book was never locked away. It passed through hands. Through voices. Through stories told by Firelight. Some say in the northern Villegither lived a quiet stranger. He spoke little, listened much. He taught children not how to wield a sword, but how to ask why. And when someone asked him, "Are you Aldric?" he only smiled. The North forgot what it had lost, but it remembered what it learned. That loyalty is not blindness. That orders are not always justice. That one man, standing still, can change the direction of history. The story does not end here. It begins every time someone asks a question. And that was Aldric's final oath. History does not change when kings speak. It changes when ordinary men refuse to stay silent. Stories do not always end in victory. Some end in silence. Aldric did not claim a throne. He did not build an empire. He left behind a question. And sometimes a single question is more dangerous than 1,000 swords. If even to die in order feels greater than humanity itself. Remember this. History once stood with an ordinary man. This waste last oath of the North. You were watching Heroes of History. If this story made you think, share it with someone who still asks questions.